Hi, my name's Charles Lastic. I've been an entrepreneur for more than 25 years now, and at the current moment run 6 separate businesses, all of which are quite successful. So today's video is all around these 7 areas of business and why you need to have mastery in all 7 of those areas. One of them I think you'll find is quite surprising and is often overlooked by many business owners. So without further ado, let's cue the intro. So hi and welcome back. And as I say, today's video is about these 7 areas of business you need to achieve mastery to grow an extraordinary business. Now, what do I mean by an extraordinary business? Really, somebody is running an extraordinary business if it's highly profitable and it's sustainable. In other words, it's not temporary, it can go for the long term. That's an extraordinary business, and ideally they love working in it as well. So what's the first thing that you need to run an extraordinary business? Well, if you look at the diagram, you look at the center of that diagram, it says leadership. So leadership, I believe, is probably the most important thing, because all businesses are a reflection of their owners. And if you don't have strong leadership, you better learn to grow it, because if you don't, you can't scale that business. It's almost impossible to run a big business by yourself, and therefore you're going to have teams, and you're going to need to attract and engage and keep good people, and therefore strong leadership skills are essential. Now, it doesn't matter if you're introvert or extrovert. That's not the point, but you need it as an embedded base, because if you can do that and build strong leadership, you will help grow your business in the best possible way. You need to be able to do things like communicate your vision. Where's the business going? What's the purpose? Why is it there? But mainly you need it because what you're trying to do is to attract extraordinary people. And if you can do that, they will help you fix all of the issues in the business and effectively end up growing an extraordinary business. Therefore, to build that extraordinary business, you need to embed a high performance culture, and in particular embed something called Kaizen, which is continuous and never ending improvement. You need to build that strong team. You also need to build a strong advice team. A strong advice team are people who either work in the business or from outside of the business, but you value their advice. That's the point. So don't try and do it by yourself. You're never going to be as smart as a group of people working together who all want the same end result. So if you work on a meritocracy, in other words, it doesn't matter who's generated the idea, from the lowest clerk in the business to yourself as the managing director, it doesn't matter who's got the right idea and is it most likely to work. And what's the evidence around that idea? How do you know it's true? If you work on what's best for the business as opposed to what's best for somebody's ego, then you're going to be moving in the right direction. So that's all really about the leadership. So if it's not in the business, you can do other things like have, let's say, advisors on the outside, and I would always suggest that you try and build a mastermind group of like-minded business owners where you discuss issues between yourselves. So a mastermind group could be 4 or 5 people. You meet once a month and you have a discussion around what's going on in your businesses and how other people maybe would suggest some thoughts and ideas because they may have gone through the same scenario themselves. That's a mastermind group. So the next area you need to really get on top of is financial mastery. Now, finances, okay, for me, I'm an independent financial advisor. I understand tax. For me, probably it's not quite as stressful as for other people, but I get it when I talk to my business owner clients. It is difficult, but it's something you absolutely need to master. Now, get a good accountant, but actually get 2 good accountants, and that's another benefit of having more than one business. So I tend to ask one accountant a question, and then I ask the second accountant the same question. Pretty much if I get the same answer, I'm comfortable. If I don't get the same answer, I know to dig in a little bit deeper. So good accountants are useful. But remember, the accountants do not run the business. You run the business and you have to decide, because they're just looking at the numbers and you need to look at other things. So again, financial mastery is about keeping a good idea of what's generating you the profits, what products are working well, what are your margins in different areas. It's also around understanding tax. Tax is a cost, and you really need to make sure that you're mitigating your tax legally as much as possible to give yourself better returns. But mostly it's about cash flow. Cash flow is king, and making sure that you always have strong cash balances in case there is a drying up of cash flow. That will make sure that the business is viable. To be honest, another thing you could do is, while you don't need it, arrange good credit with your bank. While you don't need it is the best time to arrange it. So it's a sensible thing to have a credit facility should you ever require it. So financial mastery, big aspect of making sure that a business is strong and successful in the long term. So the third area is client attraction. So client attraction is marketing. Now, a lot of people will mix sales and marketing, and I got to say I despair a little bit when I hear people talking about sales and marketing. Yeah, sure, they both get you the sale in the end result, but they are two completely separate areas. So marketing is very simply whatever it takes to get the phone to ring. Okay, so it's everything you do, but when the phone rings or somebody emails you or they come and see you, doesn't matter, they approach you, that's your marketing. Sales is what happens once the phone rings or you receive that email or whatever other contact. So separate out the two. Some people are excellent at marketing and some people are excellent at sales, but the two are not necessarily and definitely not the same thing. So you should look at both of them completely separately. So client attraction is marketing, it's not sales. So one of the things you've got to look at in your marketing is your USP. So what's your USP? It's your unique sales proposition. So really, again, when you're dealing with marketing, 3 simple questions. Why should they do it? Why should they do it now? And why should they do it with you? If you can answer those 3 questions, you're well on the road to having a good business. And really all marketing is about answering those 3 questions. Another great technique in marketing is what I call risk reversal. So this is about making sure that it isn't risky for somebody to do business with you. So for an example, in my financial services business, we have a 100% money back guarantee. So somebody pays us some money to do some work. Our guarantee says that should they be unhappy with it at any time up until to completion of the whole service, that they can ask for their money back literally at any time. Now, that may sound risky from our perspective because we've paid accountants and we've paid lawyers, right? But if we've taken the risk away entirely from the client, and they think, well, I can get all my money back by dealing with this company. No other service firm offers that kind of guarantee. I'll work with them rather than working with some other company where I'm not quite sure how good their services are, because they know they can get their money back at any time. Now, interestingly, we've had that in place and I've never paid out on it in 20 years. We did have one scenario once where a member of staff, unfortunately, put a client into something slightly different to what they ought to have been, and we not only gave that client the money back for that point, we gave them an additional amount back for the hassle, and actually that person ended up staying a client and recommended 2 other people to us. So risk reversal is a really good way of ensuring that your marketing is strong. So if you get good at your marketing, can you have too many leads? Really, providing you can handle them and you've got a system for handling them and ascertaining which are good leads and which are not good leads, there's no such thing as too many leads. If you end up with a bunch of people wanting to do business with you and you can't deal with them, you would obviously then deal with the ones which offered you the best return, whether it's long-term or short-term, and you could sell those leads on to somebody else, right? And therefore there's no such thing as too many, because if you end up too many, you just pick the ones that you prefer to work with and ask a competitor or somebody else you trust who's going to do the job well to do those lower level leads for you. So no such thing as too many leads. That's client attraction. So the fourth area is client conversion, and that's sales. So every business needs strong sales skills. I don't care how good your product is. Everybody needs strong sales skills, or somebody with strong sales skills within their business, because we're all selling all of the time. You may not consider yourself a salesperson, but if you're trying to convince anybody of anything, even if it's your wife to go on a particular holiday, that's sales. If you're trying to persuade your children to do something, that's sales. If you're trying to persuade a co-worker to do something, it's sales in a certain way. In other words, you're trying to influence a decision. And that's really what sales is about. Sales should not be undervalued. Take courses or make sure that you've got somebody else in the business who is good at sales. It can never be undervalued because it is the lifeblood of the business, whether it goes forward or it doesn't. Another aspect of sales, which a lot of people don't really get into, is understanding why they didn't make the sale. So it makes sense that if you've approached somebody and they were a prospect and for some reason they didn't go ahead, that you find out why. So quite often I would send an email to people who were prospects saying, you haven't responded to a couple of emails. I'm presuming you're not going to go forward. As we gave you a fair amount of time to help you to solve your problem, would you mind just giving me 2 minutes and be absolutely honest as to why you decided not to proceed with us? Now, those answers are absolutely gold, because those answers, if you get the truth, right? Now, a lot of people won't respond, but some will. And therefore, those answers as to why people didn't proceed will tell you what you need to do to fix your business. So absolute gold dust. Always ask why somebody didn't go forward. And if need be, outsource it to somebody outside so they're happier, not necessarily to tell you if you were the person dealing with the sales, but they may be happy to tell an outside firm who was, much more distant and saying, look, they're just trying to do some research as to why the company didn't proceed, that's all. So finding out why people didn't proceed, really, really good way of moving forward. The fifth area, if we're looking at the diagram, is client fulfillment. Now, what do I mean by that? Really, it's your operations. It's fulfilling on your promise. So when I'm saying fulfilling on your promise, well, in your marketing material, you will say, we do this, we do this, we do this, we provide excellent service, whatever it is you decide. You've made a promise. Otherwise, if you haven't made a promise, nobody will come to you as a business. So how are you fulfilling that promise is the question. And can you fulfill that promise? And what proof do you have of fulfilling that promise? If you've got proof of fulfilling that promise, that helps with your marketing, right? But operations is about setting up systems and processes to make sure that you are fulfilling on your promise. And everything should be a system. I'm really a big believer in systemizing everything within the business. Now, we have a regulated company, which means that somebody could sue us 30 years down the line, right, for advice that we gave. So we have to really dot the I's and cross the T's. But I would urge you, whatever your business is to look at the detail, look at the systems. If anything ever goes wrong, don't blame the people, blame yourself and blame the system and fix the system. That's what operations is about. It's a series of systems that fit together to give your clients what you promised. So the next area is client services. So this is existing clients and servicing them. So for some businesses, they're really strong at this and other businesses are not. But everybody should look at their existing client base, because once you've sold to a client once, really, you may well be able to sell to them again. Now, maybe you only have one product, or maybe you should think about having more than one product. What products have you got for existing clients, and what services have you got for existing clients? Because if they trusted you once, they're probably going to trust you again. And that, for many clients, is a box that they really haven't opened. So think about it, look at your client services, make sure that you're servicing people properly according to your promise, and client services is a very, very good way of moving forward. Another great thing about client service is that you will get referrals and testimonials. So if you are getting referrals and if you are getting testimonials, you can use things like Google reviews and put them up on your website so people can see you're tried and tested with other companies, because that effectively is your marketing. So asking for recommendations and asking for referrals should be an intrinsic part of your client service, because it's a sign of how well you're doing it. If all of your customers or clients are willing to put a Google review up for you or write you a recommendation to put on your website, that shows you're doing your job properly. So it's a good sign, so ask for them, because it helps with your marketing going forward. Okay, so the last area is effectively team building. Now, I said at the beginning there was one area that's overlooked, and many business owners are guilty of this. They don't look at their culture in sufficient depth. You will have a culture within your business. If you haven't built it intentionally, trust me, it's there. No matter what you do, a culture is in the business. So look at it and build it intentionally. So what is your culture? It's how you behave. It's how you behave to each other. It's how you behave to your clients. It's how you behave to your suppliers. If you build a strong culture, you will attract extraordinary people to work with you. And what's more, you will keep the extraordinary people that you already have. So keeping extraordinary people helps you to build high performance teams. If you have a good culture and you can build high performance teams, you can get those people to do some extraordinary things. If you give a great idea to a terrible team, right, they'll make a muck up of it. If you give a terrible idea to a good team, they'll probably get something out of it. So the best people and the culture in your business is something you absolutely, as a leader, need to focus on. In fact, I do not believe you can build an extraordinary business without building a high performance culture. So that's the 7 areas of business. You have to master all of those if you want to grow an extraordinary business. But I believe that building a high performance culture is probably the most important thing alongside leadership. But thanks for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed that video. If you did, please give us a like down below. If you've got any thoughts, please leave some comments. If you enjoyed all of our material, please subscribe to the channel. Thanks, and